How you guys doing? I want to give my thoughts on the a documentary. It was a documentary about the '83 fight between Billy Collins Jr. and Louis Resto. It was a fight that happened 39 years ago. It was in Madison Square Garden. No, it was a fight that it was very controversial at the end, and so both guys were in their 20s. One was 21, uh, undefeated, 17-0, and he was a upcoming guy, Billy Collins. If he was alive today, he would have been 61. Been 61 years old today, if he was still alive. Um, Louis Ristos, right now, he was 52 when they did the documentary, which was right around 2008. Um, he should be about 62, would have been around 2018. Let's see, 19, 20, 22. Let's see, 19, 20, 21, 22. So he would have been 66 right now. But the whole fight at the end was, the fight was kind of, the way the fight went is like both guys were giving punches and taking them. Um, Now, if you would have looked at Billy Collins Jr.'s face, it looked like he got hit, like he got hit with a rock, in his face, But boxing is a man sport that back then they had bare knuckle boxing back in the day, and like in England they have the some areas around England that they do bare knuckle fight, and whenever I see a boxing match, for example, I want to say Mike Tyson and George Foreman. Both guys are heavyweights, and one is in your face. One going there just like that uppercut, one punch uppercut, and one has that how George Foreman would do it, that. But both guys were under 200 pounds, 200 pounds. But Billy Collins was it 14-0, 17-0, and he was 21 years old, and he had that uppercut. and he was undefeated, 21 years old. 21 years old. Um, his dad was his trainer. His dad was a prize fighter, and didn't reach the level that his son reached. But the controversy was the gloves, and there were some controversy about the gloves, and now Louis Risto held his guilt held this guilt for 2 decades, man. And there was a documentary that helped him confront those demons and the guilt that he had all these years, man. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that he's at fault, that he's innocent, but he was involved in this controversy, and he had Panama, the guy with the name of Panama guy, and some other guys, because at the time the mob controlled boxing in New York, and in Las Vegas, and also Atlantic City, because that's where the money is. The money's made. You know, they controlled who fought, who didn't fight for the title. I mean, they pretty much ran the New York Boxing Commission, Athletic Commission. You know, and at the time, anybody who was part of organized crime, they ran shit in New York. They ran shit in Las Vegas. They ran shit in Atlantic City. But this is in New York. This was Madison Square Garden. Not one seat was available for anybody to sit, you know. It was a sold out crowd, capacity crowd, tickets sold out. Um, but it led to the point of who took out the padding and installed plaster in the gloves, you know. Now, after the fight, Billy Collins suffered a torn iris in his eye, and he was like, couldn't see it at one eye, but one eye was he could see out of after it started to heal. And I mean, back then boxing was boxing back then, man. You know, I mean, the '80s into the early '90s, mid '90s. That the golden age of boxing was like in the '80s and into the early to mid '90s, because that was the time that where um, guys like Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, George Foreman, Thomas Hitman Hearns, and shit like that, Oscar De La Hoya, Julio Cesar Chavez, you know, what was the Mexican boxer that was undefeated, man, and he was like damn good, you know. He faced De La Hoya a couple times. And at the time, I was a big fan of Oscar De La Hoya, and and stuff like that. You know, I always watch boxing, man. I with my dad and his friends, because we have a barbecue, throw a barbecue, and then when the fight started, I mean, we watched all night. the fights. There are at least 5, 6 fights that night. That every weekend, and we whenever a fight was set on HBO, we would set the time. We knew when it was going to happen, who was going to fight. We waited, and we had and this would happen every every other weekend. No, because it was like every 2, 3 weeks. There's a fight, a fight. I wasn't big on boxing even back in '83. I was a football guy, baseball guy, NBA guy, but I was more really football and baseball, But watching this documentary is that there's a lot of guilt kind of bubbling up to the surface is where the truth starts to really come in. And the biggest question is that, you have like trainers would do some weird shit to get the fighter all going, But there were stories even long before that, or even after that, in some weight classes, to get a fighter to really an edge, is that they'll work on the knuckles. The knuckles. They'll insert some metal in the knuckles. In the knuckles. So when you punch, you add more damage to someone's body, say ribs, face, upper lower rib, sternum, head, or they would add, they'll insert cement like cement in the they'll take a syringe, insert it in the glove, and then squeeze all that shit in the glove, make it hard and heavy, because that's why a lot of fighters will have their hands down like this, down like, because the gloves were heavy, and all that stuff carried weight in the gloves. The weight in the gloves. And but the Collins and Resto fight was one of the most controversial in boxing history, and that was 39 years ago. I was 7 years old at the time, and so that fight destroyed 2 lives. Billy Collins Jr. and Louis Restos. Both guys' lives changed. That fight destroyed them both. But there was a like, you see Restos now, he's older, and he has a lot of gray, a lot of white hair and shit. And there was a lot of question on. Now the thing is, I had a lot of questions myself after watching that documentary. Is that, the dad was a prize fighter and did not reach the level that his son is. 21 years old, 17-0, upcoming guy, But the question is, was now something has tells me that Bill Collins Senior was using his son as a money a cash cow because his son's 21 years old. He's making some good money, fighting 17-0, 21 years old, no not one loss. Um, and the thing is, like, there's a video where it says the fight that got Bill Collins screwed over. Okay, I'm not saying either side was innocent or guilty. I'm just saying that when you hear all this, you have to really put yourself in both shoes here. Louis Restos started fighting in '77. That was over 45 years ago. Um, he was a part of the '74 boxing U.S. Olympic boxing team in 70, was it 76, 74, 75, right now. Um, but there's so many questions unanswered on somehow that Billy Collins uppercut. He used an uppercut, and he tried and in that fight he relied on an uppercut, and somehow it did not phase Restos. Did not phase the guy. He relied on the left upper hook, cut, and then the right hand, pop, pop. And it did not phase the older competitor, Los Ristos. Ristos and whatnot. But Restos was a body guy, a shot guy. He was a body shot guy. And why he didn't go for the body shots, but went for the head shots is like, if you were the body shot guy, boxer, you should have aimed for the body, the ribs, the sternum, all that shit, But I can stand getting a couple of shots to the face, pop, pop, But Billy Collins was the uppercut guy. Through that left uppercut. Now, Louis Restos was a veteran in the sport, and if you look at fighters from say 75 to 84 who were in the middleweight, bantamweight, welterweight, all the guys, the ones that they're not the heavy guys, but that are about 135 to 165 weight class, See, I'm 6'2", 255, 255. I would be, if I was a boxer, I would be in the heavyweight class, and so I would be in the heavyweight class and stuff. So, but when you're in that weight class, um, because Louis Restos, when he weighed in, he weighed 145, 140, about 144 or 145. But after he said he had a meal, and he weighed again. He weighed 157, but at the fight he weighed 175. Okay, now between 144 and 157, you have to gain at least 14 pounds, right? 14 pounds. Okay, that's 14 pounds. That's 157. Then during the fight, he weighed 175. So 157, 175. That's 20. That's 22 pounds gained. So when you look at um, 13 pounds, 22 pounds, so he gained an extra 34 or 35 pounds. But it shouldn't be from eating, because if you're a skinny guy, and you weigh 144, but at the weigh-in 157, um, but gaining 34 pounds to a fight to the fight, that's like an extra 34 30, or 35 pounds, man. But it said that he needed to lose weight, drop some weight a little bit, from what it was. I would think more that if, because somebody tampered with the gloves, you know. But the thing, I think that both guys were victims, because if somebody messed with Louis Russell's gloves, and I mean, if somebody truly tampered with Louis Russell's gloves, it had to be the trainer or one of the corner guys. Because boxing, if you make a bet on boxing, and you feel like, yeah, I'm gonna throw him some money on this guy, but to do that, you have to take the guy who's lost a few fights, and they lost a few fights, to have a major upset against the guy that's 21 years old, undefeated, 17-0, from Tennessee, Irish Billy Collins. And so the big question is, if a trainer messed with the gloves and puts something in the water, then he could be in trouble for tampering. Because, I mean, tampering with the gloves, adding plaster, putting stuff in the water, tampering with the water. Now, this guy in Panama that trained Louis Risto back in the day was training this one guy in the documentary. The guy he trained lost the fight in MSG. But it took I mean, Louis Restos finally opened up, and it's like he was scared of something. That's why he just had all this guilt. He was in prison, got out, spent 10 years living in a gym basement. But and if you think about the fight, ever since that day, that fight, man, it would drive you nuts, man. I mean, it would drive someone nuts, big time, man. Like really freaking big time, man. But I think that because when I watched this documentary, he was kind of like he was afraid of scared of something if he knew something from all these years ago, and his guilt is putting you in a bad spot where it's like your life is ruined. I mean, the guilt setting in, you know, the guilt setting in. Um, but the guy himself, the Panama guy, he acted like he didn't give a shit. You know, it's like it's like a guy who was knowingly or unknowingly pulling the strings. Because when he came back and saw the guy himself again after all these years, he walked with his head down. It's like it's like a dog who was wounded, still wounded after all these years, and feared like afraid of going back to his owner because he cowered down, he cowers a little bit, you know, but has all these questions like But if it wasn't for the filmmaker of the documentary, that's when things started to really open up. Transcripts, audio really put the guy, Louis Restos, in a position where, hey, you got to come clean, clear conscience, and make amends of the past to have a better future. Not as a fighter, but someday being a licensed, sanctioned trainer. That would pretty much redeem him, redeem himself, redeem him. But there's another video where he talked about because Billy Collins Sr. wanted to sue everybody. You know, if he wasn't going to make any money through the fight, because they were living in Tennessee in a very living poor, in a way. But he wanted to sue everybody, everybody. But I think that he was using his son as a cash cow to get out of poverty, man. Because that left hook was a cash maker, a money maker, man. But now the question was, now there was a mentioning of that Billy Collins Sr. switched the gloves. I mean, after 10 years of litigation, every lawsuit that he filed, no go. because because they're offering Bill Collins Jr. more fights, but the dad was holding on to this lawsuit, a $65 million lawsuit, which was thrown out. So I'm kind of wondering if there was some kind of deal, backdoor deal somewhere where the dad himself was, because now now it was said that the gloves was tampered with, which they were. Now the question is, because Bill Collins Jr. was 17-0, not one loss, a upcoming guy. He had that uppercut. That uppercut. That was a big money maker right there. Um, because each fighter has their own finish, way of getting that 1-2 shot, Um, but I'm wondering if the dad had any, because if the gloves were not tampered with, and that's a big question. If the gloves weren't tampered with, for example, for a little thing here, now somewhere in the fight that there had to be some kind of haywire. Um, someone's to blame there, and and but again, that fight 39 years ago, man, changed everything for both families, man. For both families, man. Dang. But I don't know. It's just these questions I got. My thoughts are. So many damn questions, man. I tell you, so many fucking questions, though, dude. Um, well, if the guy Panama has done shit where he dropped a pill in the water, and it does something, and it does something. Um, he could be fined liable for tampering with water that could have done some damage to the fighter. And if it's true, because it looked like that the way that Buckhorn was punching, because if you look at each fighter, each fighter was laying blows at the same time, and Um, I don't know, man. I just think that there's a lot of but again, I mean, last time I see something this crazy was Tyson and Holyfield, man, where Tyson bit parts of Holyfield's ear off, like literally off, man, and he had them both surgically put back in there, and like part of the ear, like here, like just literally bit off, like bit through the gristle, like fucking a dude, like I'm like, man, dude, fucking a, man, like insane, dude. Um, Raging Bull with Robert De Niro was a autobiography fight, an autobiography movie about a fighter that did get caught cheating, and a lot of boxing camps try some crazy shit to get ahead, man. It's all about the money. You know? Welcome back to money. But the thing is, I mean, boxing is a insane sport, man. Insane sport, man. You know, I seen that documentary, the Salt in the Ring documentary, and it is insane, dude. Insane, man. Like really fucking insane, dude. You gotta understand, like, if you get your craft naturally, and like really naturally gifted, where you work your ass off, you train your ass off, you and doing what you got to do to be a good fighter, to be a good boxer, to be a good athlete, and then all of a sudden someone does some stupid shit, and then you are lost without a license to fight anywhere, anywhere. You know, Las Vegas, Atlantic City, New York City. Um, it's just that you have to really pay attention, man. Nowadays it's like holy crap, man. Sports, sports have been infiltrated by woke culture and shit. Boxing, uh, sports, baseball, football, basketball, track and field, swimming, all been infiltrated by the woke culture cult. What the fuck, man? But back then, man, dude, it was a time where boxing was boxing, dude. Boxing was boxing back then, man. But it wasn't as it is now. Because shit. If you get caught with some stuff in your system, holy shit, dude. What the fuck? And if you get if you get asked a question in an interview, and it's like you're being put on a spot, man. You're being put on the spot. Which, like, oh, fuck this shit. I ain't answering a damn question, man. Not even a damn one question at all, man. But the best thing is, like, you gotta come clean, man. Be honest with yourself. Be honest. Because Lewis Russell, man, dude had guilt. Serious fucking guilt, man. Serious fucking guilt, man. Insane guilt, man. Seriously insane guilt, you know. I think that when you look at the reality of boxing, man, I mean, look at Don King. That dude was a guy you didn't want to fuck with back in the day, and he made his money being a promoter. He made more money than the fighters. You know, Mike Tyson was supposed to make there's a fight that he was involved in where he was going to make $60 million in one fight. $60 million, and Don King took about a huge chunk of that money. You know, and his son also got a huge chunk of money too. It was him and his son. They screwed over every single fighter they promoted, and each fighter broke, financially broke, because Don King screwed over Muhammad Ali. He screwed over Sugar Ray Leonard. He screwed over Mike Tyson. And he saw something in Mike Tyson. Don King saw a lot of money, a lot of dollar signs from Mike Tyson, because 23 years old, just like built like a fucking gladiator. Holy crap, man, dude, man. And there was a rumor that him and Don King got into it over money. I think that's when that shit happened, because he got 6 years in prison. 6 years, and because of a sexual assault allegation that in a way in a way I think it's a setup, because Don King was a really strange dude, man. Strange dude. And it was about money. And Don King was going to get his money no matter how he was going to do it. And that dude is, and he got sued. He got sued. But I'll tell you what, I mean, I wouldn't live the lavish life, man. I don't think I would be able to handle that kind of lifestyle, man. Lavish shit, no, that ain't me. I wouldn't do it. I still like, there's a point too that when they look at controversial fights, the Collins and Resto fight in 83 would be the up there as the most controversial boxing fight ever, because of what happened to Billy Collins. You know, both lives were ruined. Both lives are completely shattered beyond anything, man. His father, Billy Collins Sr., I mean, even after all these years, he's still hurt. You know. But in a way, I wouldn't blame him. But in a way, I kind of thought, you know what, you got to close this chapter on this one, because if someone is finally coming clean and just like want to get this out of his mind and just like give her this guilt, you know, sometimes it won't hurt to actually, you know, because our guilt can make someone really just go down a very deadly spiral. Sometimes you have to really have the truth set you free. And if the gloves were tampered by Panama, this Panama guy, and someone else, I would say, you know what, I ain't wearing those gloves. I ain't wearing those gloves. Because, you know, I mean, you're, even though you're being trained by the guy, and you have people around you, you feel kind of intimidated in a way, because what's happening there is like it's going to eat up your consciousness. It's going to really nitpick at your conscience, you know, and all that guilt. It's going to destroy you, man. If you don't, like, you know what, you gotta come clean. You gotta come clean about everything. But also, if there was any switched gloves, then somebody's at fault for that one. You know, and all right, folks, this is good old Grimlock, and I want to go ahead and put the turkey in the oven and say, please share this video. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. And if you're new to this channel, please leave a like, subscribe, comment below, hit the bell for notification, and always live healthy, happy, and wise. I love you guys, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out. Godspeed.